So today we continue reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita. I believe it's verse number 58. Sorry, 258. Yes, the mark is on chapter 8. Yada samharate chayam Guru Indriyani Daitabhya Tasya Prajnapratishta Yada when Samharate winds up Cha also I am he Kuma tortures Angani limbs Iva like Sarvasaha all together Indriyani senses Indriya Divya from the sense objects Tasya his Prajna consciousness Pratisthita fixed. Translation: one who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. Purport: the test of a yogi, devotee, or self-realized soul is that he is able to control the senses according to his plan. Most people, however, are servants of the senses and are thus directed by the dictation of the senses. That is the answer to the question as to how the yogi is situated. The senses are compared to venomous serpents. They want to act very loosely and without restriction. The yogi or devotee must be very strong to control the serpents. Like a snake charmer, he never allows them to act independently. There are many injunctions in the revealed scriptures. Some of them are do nots, and some of them are do's. Unless one is able to follow the do's and don'ts, restricting oneself from sense objects, it is not possible to be firmly fixed in Krishna consciousness. The best example set here is the tortoise. The tortoise can at any moment wind up its senses and exhibit them again at any time for particular purposes. Similarly, the senses of the Krishna consciousness person are used only for those particular purposes in the service of the Lord and are withdrawn otherwise. Arjuna is being taught here to use his senses for the service of the Lord instead of for his own satisfaction. Keeping the senses always in the service of the Lord is the example set by the analogy of the tortoise who keeps the senses within. Om Gyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurumidam Jena Tasmai Shri Rave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Bhakti-vinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare. So this is a very technical chapter, the chapter 2, which goes on explaining about the difference between the jivatma or the jiva and the body itself. So in the beginning, in the first chapter, we found Arjuna calling upon Bhagavan Krishna, saying, "Oh Bhagavan Krishna, bring my chariot between the two armies so that I can see all those who have come here to please the evil-minded sons of Dhritarashtra." And then the Lord said, "Take a bite. Here, all the Kauravas assembled here at Kurukshetra. And Arjuna is seeing darshan. And this darshan is not like the darshan of the Murti. Yes, he's seeing so many of his friends who have come to Kurukshetra with weapons in hands. And then his mind is changing. He said, "Bhagavan, no, nay. This is gonna be very, very bad for all people. If all his men die, the families will be left unprotected. Kura Dharma will be destroyed, and Sri Dharma will be destroyed. No. I cannot engage in this way." And then, upon hearing Arjuna's complaint, Lord Krishna, Sri Bhagavan Krishna, he says, "Oh Arjuna, you sound like Pandit, but you're not Pandit. Because those who are in Pandit lament neither for the living nor for the dead. You are lamenting for the body." And then he begins to explain about the Atma, how that Atma is eternal, how that Atma is never destroyed at any time by any weapon. And then as he continues to explain about the Atma, and then in text 53 of this chapter 2, he's saying to Arjuna that your mind is confused. Why your mind is confused? Because of the flowery language of the Vedas. You have become fruitive. You are talking in terms of creative actions. He says, when your mind is no longer attracted by these creative activities or the creative language of the Vedas, and when your mind will concentrate on self-realization, you will have attained divine consciousness. You will have become a Sthita Prajna, one who is in divine consciousness. So Arjuna in text number 53 is asking, what are the symptoms of this Sthita Prajna? One who is in transcendence. How does he speak? What is his language? How does he sit? And how does he walk? Very interesting question. So here the Lord continues to answer that question about the Sthita Prajna. How does he sit? How does he walk? Or how does one become such a self-controlled person? So in this verse, the Lord gives the example of a tortoise. He says one who is able to withdraw his senses from the sense objects, as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell, is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. So this is a beautiful analogy that Lord Krishna is using here of the tortoise. So the tortoise has its own shell. So when he senses there is some danger, he just withdraws all his legs within the shell. You can even think that he's dead. He just stops walking and just withdraw. So he says that a stick-up program, someone who's transcendental, is someone who is able to withdraw his senses from the sense of objects, just like a tortoise. So how does one do this? It takes training. The Bhagavad Gita explained that higher than matter or this body are the senses. But higher than the senses is the mind. Higher than the mind is the Atma. Higher than the Atma is ego, ahankara. So I was explaining the other day how there are four components of the mind. There is manaha, chitta, buddhi, and ahankara. So ahankara, or the last component of the mind, is that sense of I and mine. It's called ahankara. So in the material world, everyone thinks that this is me, and everything belongs to me. This is called ahankara. So in a similar way, Arjuna was thinking, these are my people, these are my friends, and I will protect them by not fighting in this war. So this is ahankara. That's why the Lord is explaining how to break away from this ahankara. It just becomes a covering, just like a tortoise is covered by the shell. So how do we break away from this ahankara? We have to understand we need to understand the difference between matter and spirit, between the mind and the senses. How the mind is higher than the senses, but higher than the mind is the soul. So when we understand and act in our position as Atma, we become lesser controlled by the physical body. There is in the Bhagavatam, in 7th chapter of the 3rd canto, there is text number 11 or 10. There we found Vidur is asking the same question to Maitreya, that the jiva is never unconscious. Even in sleep, the jiva is conscious. But how is it that the same jiva, who is always accompanied by Paramatma, engages in activities that are not of his nature? So then Maitreya Rishi explains that he gives the analogy of the moon, like here the analogy is a tortoise. Says just like the moon, Chandra, Yata Chandra Manasa, that the moon, even though it's situated in its orbit, but when it is reflected on water and seen by a person on water, it appears to be trembling. So in a similar way, he says in a similar way, the jiva, even though is transcendental, but in contact, in association with matter, it seems to have taken the qualities of matter. Atmano, anatmano, guna. So we see that the more the living entity identifies with matter, he thinks that he has become part of matter, and therefore he becomes confused. So that was the cause of Arjuna's confusion. He was identifying with the body and all other bodies as Kurukshetra, to the exclusion of the mission of Sri Krishna Bhagavan. So then as a result of that, he became perplexed, and he became bewildered, and he was going through so many mental agonies. Sometimes, if not always, devotees go through that also. I remember when I was a new devotee, many years ago in the 80s, I was at that time young. Now I was not young. I was 67 now. That time I was 26. So I read the books. I decided I'm going to join the Hare Krishnas. I decided I'm going to join the Hare Krishna. I never told anyone in my family. I just joined Hare Krishna. Shaved up my hair, gave up my office, became brahmachari. One day, when we were on Harinam in my city, and my sister happened to be in a city, I don't know what she came to do, doing shopping. There I was, dressed dhoti kurta, chanting Hare Krishna, this person, I thought he was in the office working. Now he's going around on the street, singing like a madman. What happened? So she came behind me, she grabbed me like this. What happened to you? What is this? I was surprised. I didn't expect that. Now, I was at the crossroads. Either you go home with your sister or you follow the Harinam party. And I was confused. I was thinking, I thought I was doing something nice. Now someone is very upset about it. I said, I will come home, I will explain to you. And then I continued with the Harinam party up to this day. I didn't go back to explain it. So now, this is Meta, this is my sister, and that has impact on you. Yeah. So now you have to decide. So then I told her, I will come. I'll come home and explain it. I continued to come. Sometimes we are tested also as devotees, just like Arjuna. When he saw his friends, his relatives in Kurukshetra, he became despondent. But Lord Krishna Bhagavan, he spoke the Bhagavad Gita to encourage him, and he became encouraged. So that's the situation in the material. There's sometimes contact with matter that is closer to us. It can make us bewildered. Yes. So, Arjuna, what he's going through, sometimes we as devotees go through. That you have to break away from so many things. Yes. have to break away from so many things. It's not easy. But it's easy when you understand the difference between the shell and its owner, the Atma. Yes. So, just as the tortoise, when he senses danger, he withdraws his senses. So here, that is the quality of the Sthita Prajna, someone who has attained transcendence. So here, one who is able to withdraw his senses from the sense objects as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. So that is the explanation that the Lord is giving. So Prabhupada says the test of a yogi devotee or self-realized soul is that he is able to control his senses according to his plan. So according to the plan means according to certain principles. It's just like when we take initiation, we make a vow, no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. We make a vow. But now to practice, to follow that vow is a challenge. You want money, sometimes you want to gamble. It's a stock exchange, horse racing, and all these things are very attractive. But now you can't do it. You made a vow. People, Bhagavan in fire. And tea is very nice, especially in cold weather. Sometimes you want to drink chai, but you made a vow, no chai. Especially you go to India, in the trains, in winter. Garam chai, garam masala, garam chai, anything, oh chai is so cold, let me have a cup. Yeah, so these things are attractive to the senses. But like a tortoise, garam chai, you withdraw, close your ears. So like a tortoise, you withdraw when there's a loud call, chai. So now you can't take chai. So that's capacity. So that way, so in the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti, he explains that when Arjuna is asking, what are the symptoms of this Sthita Prajna, someone who has attained divine consciousness? He's not talking about how does he walk, how does he speak, how does he sit, what is his language. But what he's trying to say is that what does he do when he has the opportunity to enjoy the senses? Yeah, that's what it means, according to another Acharya, Vishwanath Chakravarti. So sometimes you're traveling in a train, it's called chai is available. What does it do? Even when it's cold, you can't drink chai. You withdraw your senses. So that is the challenge. So this is the problem. He is not affected by cold weather or hot weather. He will just withdraw his senses. So that is how one succeeds in the process of Bhakti. Why is that? It says, Mana Prandhyani Prabhu. strong concept that this life of struggle is due to the mind and the senses. The living entity is consciously, is part of me, but in this material world they are struggling with the mind and the senses. So when one learns how to withdraw his senses like a tortoise, and then he can be safe at all times. So that is the challenge that Arjuna is facing here. So Lord Krishna is explaining the Bhagavad Gita to encourage him to continue in his dharma as Kshatriya. Fight for dharma and die for dharma. Yes. There was one sannyas, old sannyasi called Punjab, he used to say, live for dharma and die for dharma. That means you don't give up dharma because the situation is threatening. If it means that you die for dharma. So that is what Lord Krishna is encouraging Arjuna to do. That you live for dharma and you die for dharma. Because if you die for dharma, you will attain Swargaloka. So do not get helpless. So that is the beauty of Bhagavad Gita. Basically the point that Krishna is making here is saying to Arjuna, you live for dharma and die for dharma. And you will gain. But if you give up dharma, you will be lost. Oh, Arjuna. So that way, these are the bases of the Indian philosophy. That you die for dharma and you live for dharma. Don't give up dharma. Because when you give up dharma, everything is lost. But when you hold to dharma, there is no loss. But once you give up dharma, and then everything goes. Because dharma comes with the protection of the bulls and the cows. When the bulls and the cows are protected, and Mother Earth feels very happy. As the bulls graze on Mother Earth feels very happy. Because the bulls and the cows are Shubha auspicious. But when Adharma comes, the cows are going to slaughterhouse in big trucks. In big steel trucks. So that brings about destruction. So the Vedic scriptures explain everything in details. So by the promotion of dharma and living the way become good. Everything is balanced. So that's why Lord Krishna is encouraging Arjuna to hold to dharma. Don't be disturbed by what you are seeing, because the core of life is dharma. When there is no dharma, what happens? There is Hiranyakashipu, there is Ravan, and Ravan jealous, and there is chaos. So Arjuna is encouraged here to stick with dharma, and despite all the mental disturbances and the attraction to the fruitive actions, because dharma, that is what can save the world. So that is the beauty of the Bhagavad Gita. That it teaches us that dharma is everything. Therefore we should live for dharma, even if it means to die. You die holding to dharma, you gain. Yes. So the Lord here is teaching that to us about the importance of holding into Dharma. Thank you very much. We'll take a few questions if you have any. Any questions? Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada ki.